Hello and welcome to Streamlit Live. My name is Caroline Frasca and I work on developer relations at Streamlit. We've got a great episode for you today. I am super excited to be joined by a very special guest, Yuichiro Tachibana. Welcome, Yuichiro, to the show. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good, and thank you for good welcoming introduction for me.
Yeah, of course. We're super excited to have you on the show today. To give our audience a little bit of a background on you, you've worked at several companies over the course of your career as a software engineer, with a
Yes.
focus in particular on computer vision and machine learning. You've also made quite a few really important contributions to Streamlit and other open source communities. And most recently, you've been working as a machine learning developer advocate at Hugging Face. You're also a Streamlit creator. You studied computer vision and machine learning for your bachelor's degree, and you've built some pretty amazing projects related to deep learning, computer vision, and robotics along the way. What did I miss? Is there anything else that our viewers should know about you? And how'd you first discover Streamlit and start contributing to this community?
Well, thank you very much, and you greatly overviewed and reviewed my career history. And as you introduced, I've started my career at machine learning or deep learning or something like that from university, academia. But after I left it, I have mainly working as I have been mainly working as a software developer in the field of machine learning or something like that, who are particularly using web technology or things like that. And the story about me and Streamlit is, well, probably it was about 2021 when I was working as a software developer at Japanese machine learning startup in the computer vision team, where I was working on some real-time video streaming system with machine learning and computer vision backend. In the team, there was some researchers who are training and building some machine learning or computer vision models that will be used as a part of the product. But during the development phase, we are typically sharing that kind of demo with our colleagues or boss or some of our clients as a prototype. But the main tool for that purpose, what we are using was OpenCV. Well, probably some audiences today already know about it, but with that technology, we could only create desktop-based applications that cannot be easily shared with, of course, even in the team, and of course with our boss or our clients. So I looked for good framework, good tool to make our teams to more easily create and shareable demos for real-time video streams. And I finally found Streamlit. At the time, Streamlit was not perfect, of course, because it lacks the real-time streaming feature, but I found it provide a custom component API that we can use to extend Streamlit. So I decided to use it, and I decided to also create my own custom component that covers the real-time video streaming feature. This is my first contact with Streamlit.
Yeah, that's super interesting because you kind of discovered Streamlit for, I think, the demo part of it, for rapidly building these examples for your team, and then you discovered that you needed this other feature that Streamlit didn't have at the time, and so you built it yourself as a custom component, which is exactly, I think, what custom components are supposed to be, to allow you to really extend the functionality of Streamlit in a way that might not be natively built into the library yet. So we love to hear that. But to just give our audience a roadmap for this live stream, first we're going to talk about two of your really impressive Streamlit projects. So one of them being Streamlit WebRTC, which you just mentioned, your custom component, and one of them being Stlite. If we're lucky, we might even get to see some live demos there of those two projects. After that, we're going to talk about contributing to open source projects in general and how folks can follow your example of leveraging their experiences with open source to really build a career, even outside of open source as well.
Yeah.
Along the way, audience members, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the live stream. So let's get into it. Let's start with Stlite. So for those of the audience members who really aren't familiar, haven't heard of Stlite, what is it?
Okay. In short, it is a serverless version of Streamlit or WebAssembly version of Streamlit. Well, it means by using Stlite, by the way, it's a short version, Streamlit Lite, you can host your Streamlit application without any server-side runtime. Any server-side OS, any server-side Python runtime, or whatever else, just by hosting or just by creating your static single HTML file, including Python code as a string literal embedded into it, and host it somewhere like GitHub Pages or Amazon S3 or something like that. You can, serve your Streamlit application serverlessly to your users. Yeah, I think it sounds weird, and it's kind of hard to understand what it really is. But I think it's a good thing to the best thing to understand it just seeing actual demo that we are going to see soon. But yeah, this is the first answer.
That's a good point. Let's get into the demo, and then I have some questions. I think that some of the audience members who maybe aren't familiar with WebAssembly, or they're like, "What does serverless even mean?"
Yes, there were some unfamiliar words.
We can get into that after, but let's for now let's dive into the demo so people can really see what we're talking about.
Cool. So can I share my screen right now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Let me see.
Cool.
Now, can you see my screen
yes,
now?
We can see it.
Okay, cool. First of all, this is a GitHub repository of Stlite, which probably she will share this link to the stream anyway. And within this repository, you can find a link to this page, and by clicking this link, you can open this web platform named as Stlite sharing. This is, I think, the very good first thing to start with trying out Stlite, where you can find the code editor, web-based code editor on the left, and Streamlit application preview on the right pane like this, where you can edit the code in live, like hello world, like this. And if you save this source code, the hosted Streamlit application on the right detects the change, and the change is automatically reflected to the Streamlit preview without any delay. And one interesting thing, surprising thing here is that every Python and front-end thing is running inside this web browser. I mean, when you access this web page, any Python runtime spins up on the server side. Actually, technically, this web page is hosted on Cloudflare pages, which only supports static file serving, including something like HTML, JS, CSS, which doesn't provide any dynamic Python runtime on server side. But it's working now as a Streamlit application. This is what Stlite makes it possible. And yes. Well, yeah, this is my first demo of Stlite. Do you think it's...
Yeah, this is awesome. I think like a clarifying question folks might have is, how is this different from if you were going to host your own Streamlit app, or if you were going to run on Streamlit Community Cloud or something like that? What kind of differentiates the fact that it's serverless? What kind of things can you do differently in Stlite?
Well, yeah, good question. From the viewpoint of the users, I think there is not so much different. But from the aspect of the service provider, one huge benefit is you can get rid of any server-side cost or any server-side effort to maintain the dynamic runtime of the server. This is one benefit. And sorry, I said there is no difference from the users, but one significant benefit for users is that this makes it possible for them to run Streamlit even in offline environment without any internet access once all the resources are loaded from the remote host or even like anywhere else, any places, any servers. So you don't have to submit some private or secret information to remote host if you have some strict privacy policy in your organization or something like that. This offline serverless feature would be a good benefit for users as well.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. What really motivated you to come up with this idea and to start building Stlite?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, the biggest reason was my personal technical interest,
Yeah.
but it was also a good time to start this project because there was a kind of huge movement of this type of frameworks. I mean, client-side executed Python frameworks. This movement was ignited hugely by Jupyter with their release of Jupyter Lite. That was a WebAssembly version of the Jupyter Lab, along with the release of Pyodide. It was a CPython runtime compiler for WebAssembly, which means Pyodide is a Python runtime that completely runs on a web browser. So at the time, every resource needed to create this kind of technology was ready. So yeah,
Right.
I thought it was, nice timing, and it motivated me to start this project.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. I think part of this is also like when you're running Streamlit serverlessly, there is maybe a little bit less concern about if you create a Streamlit app that is public and you're a little bit worried about just random bad actors getting a hold of your Streamlit app and trying to
Exactly.
stabilize
Yeah,
it.
browser environment kind of a safe sandbox.
Yeah. This is awesome, and I think that folks in the audience should check it out. We've got the URL here for Stlite sharing. Give it a try with your favorite Streamlit app. And while you're sharing your screen, Yuichiro, I'd love to also get into the Streamlit WebRTC component.
Okay.
I'd love to also see that demo, but I think just to get started, obviously Streamlit WebRTC unlocks a lot of powerful video and audio functionality for Streamlit developers. But for people who haven't heard of it, can you give us just like a quick introduction of what this component is?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Let me see. Okay. This is Streamlit WebRTC repository, and you can find a link to its online demo here. I think this is a good first demo to try out Streamlit WebRTC for the first time. I hope it works now. Yes. Well, I hope the network bandwidth is enough to run this demo now, along with this live stream. But as you see, some real-time object detection is now being applied to the real-time video stream running on this Streamlit application hosted on Streamlit Cloud. And this input video is sourced from my local web camera like this. And interesting thing is this object detection logic is implemented as a Python code, and that is hosted on the Streamlit Cloud where the logic is actually running. So what this Streamlit WebRTC component does is to get input video stream from my local web camera and send it to the server side and run some Python implemented logic, things like object detection or something like that, and send it back to the front end, this page, to display the output result video frames continuously like this in real-time speed. Well, yeah, this demo only covers video stream, but it also covers audio streams. So I think many people can create several types of wide variety of applications using real-time video and or audio stream features provided by this component.
I feel like there are a ton of use cases that this really unlocks for Streamlit developers. One that I was really impressed by was an app to recognize and transcribe barcodes when someone holds up a barcode to their camera with the Streamlit app. I thought that was a pretty cool application of this. What has been your favorite community-built app using this component that you created?
Well, yeah, I think there are many good applications, but one example that impressed me was kind of educational application that recognizes some molecule model, like
right, the paper molecule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Students or probably teacher are actually manipulating the physical molecular model by hand on the desk, and the user will take that video stream from their web camera, and the Streamlit app detect the molecule name or some structure in real time and displays a result it's like a puzzle application for education on the chemistry thing. To be honest, I'm not familiar with that sphere, but yeah, it really impressed me. I could not get such kind of an idea about the application just by myself. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest parts of building a component or even building anything open source is that you don't really know exactly what people are going to use it for, and then to see people using what you built in such surprising and unique and interesting ways that you might not have even thought of yourself.
Yes,
you can
I think it's good thing about open source collaboration, and indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, folks in the audience, check out Streamlit WebRTC. It's a Streamlit component. You can download it. You can use it for free. Check out this shortened link on your screen to get started. Yuichiro also has a couple of really great blog articles about building this component and how you can use this component. So highly recommend that you check that out. But this has been really great. Yeah, check out the GitHub repo as well. Thank you for the demo, though. These are awesome demos, Yuichiro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can build this kind of application just by writing few amount of code like this.
There's a couple lines of code, which is crazy.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, so to kind of shift gears into focusing more on just open source in general, I think one of the most interesting things about your career, Yuichiro, is that you've actually worked for companies connected to the open source projects that you've been involved in. So from Streamlit, to Hugging Face, two pretty major companies that have thriving open source communities. Was there anything that really surprised you about making that transition from being a contributing member of the community to an official part of the company? Were there any parts of that open source experience that you suddenly saw in kind of a new light as a result of making that transition?
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, it was kind of straightforward. So paradoxically, it was surprising that there was no special thing that surprised me, actually. Well, even after I joined this kind of company and started OS's contribution as a paid job, what I'm doing is not so different from what I originally did as a community contributor, because I see some issues and write code and making pull requests, something like that, and almost all processes are already open. So literally, it's open source, right? So this is not precise definition of source, but on top of the open source philosophy, discussions are already open, and the contributors are already open. So almost all necessary knowledge that I need to contribute or start contribution to each project was already there. So even after I joined this companies, there is, well, not so huge difference. And of course, after I joined these kind of teams as a core member or core contributor, I could be involved into some high level technical decision or policy making or something like that. But I think it's also obvious, right? Even in the case of open source projects hosted by individuals or some non-profit organization, I think the case is same. So this is also, not the hidden. There is no hidden secrets still. So yeah, the answer is again, there is no special hidden secrets between these two scenarios.
No, I think that's a very positive thing. Yeah, that's definitely like best case scenario is it's still kind of the same magic to be working on the project from sort of the inside out. But do you think that working on these open source projects has opened doors for your careers? Do you feel like there have been unexpected benefits of being so deeply involved in open source projects? I kind of wonder, I feel like coming from being a member of the external community and then working for a company that owns the project, I'd imagine that's kind of a benefit of being able to say, hey, I have this like inside perspective of what it's like to actually be a member of your community, and now I can help you all understand what it's like from that perspective as well.
Well, yes, I think I could gain some benefits from open source contribution, but I don't think there is no such unexpected thing actually, because as you said, like yes, of course, I can say I'm familiar with this technology or this library or something like that, and this could be used as my name card when I'm talking with some people who I met in some community. But this is also obvious, right? But one thing is that I could be connected people more than I expected, actually. Well, I found some community members, of course, from Python field or machine learning field, or more specifically, Streamlit field or something like that. And the amount of my social connections that I gained after I started contributing to OSS is kind of unexpectedly grown.
Yeah.
After I passed some point, actually.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like what you're saying is that it's not, the benefits aren't limited to just your career. It's really your life in general, and even like your social sphere.
Yeah,
You've created connections.
exactly. I think after you pass some point, your kind of a social connection or reputation will start growing like a snowball, like exponentially. Like, I think it's a good thing about open source thing, because it has an open network.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Do you have any tips for people who are interested in getting started with open source projects, but they just have no idea where to start, where to even start looking?
Well, I think it's one of the most frequently asked questions, and I think the answer depends on your personal preference or characters. I think one common answer is to find some famous OSS project, and you should find a so-called good first issues, and that's gonna be a good entry point for beginners. But especially, let me talk about my personal case. I could not be interested in such kind of good first issues in random OSS projects that I do not use. So what I did at the very beginning was just to make small contributions, like making bag reports or making GitHub issues or feature requests, or just making a small pull request including even only one character typo. So if you find if you encounter a situation or moment where you would like to post some bad word on Twitter about the software you are using, I think it's a actually good opportunity to make your positive contribution by making GitHub issues or pull requests instead of posting bad words to SNS social network. So, but I think this is one of the serious advice I usually do to such kind of people. Well, yes, and even now, after I obtained a paid job, and I'm now even at this moment I'm now maintaining some major OSS projects like Streamlit WebRTC, Stlite, Gradio, or something like that. I'm still keep doing this kind of thing. If I find some small typo, some small bug, or feature request, feature needs in random OSs that I actually use, I make such kind of small contributions anytime.
Yeah, that's super valuable advice. I mean, to summarize, I think you're saying follow your passions. First of all, you don't have to pick just a random, super dry, good first issue, GitHub issue to start contributing. I think you're also saying like start small. You don't have to come in and implement a new feature. If you have some small addition or even like a typo, that's still valuable. And then the third part is my personal favorite, which is if you feel like you want to post something rude on social media, instead, maybe contribute a PR or something, or create a GitHub issue and have the conversation in a super constructive area.
Please know that this is just my case, but I hope it will be some helpful for some people.
No, I think it's good advice. I love it. What advice would you give to someone who has been contributing to open source projects but wants to kind of leverage that experience into career opportunities? I feel like you're kind of an expert in this area. Are there like specific strategies that you had or specific types of contributions that you've found were super valuable and super transferable in making that transition from open source to actually being a part of the company itself?
Okay, actually, I think this is difficult question because even now I could not. Well, I didn't know. I do not know what actually helped me to get such kind of a good opportunity in the open source field, which means that we could not predict which project will be valuable for careers in serious ways. Actually, I have been doing more OSS projects randomly that are not listed in the OSS project list today I have been showing. But after I released all these things and after I get some opportunities, I finally know what worked in the community or what gained actually some reputations or nice feedbacks from the community. So, well, general advice, I think this is not advice, but kind of excuse is to just do what you are interested in, what you have a passion. And I think, well, amount or I think if you do more things, there opportunity, the possibility of a possibility for you to get a good opportunity growth increases, I think.
Yeah.
And one technical advice is, promotion, I think. Just promote your project in SNS with some impressive images or some impressive code snippet with a description saying, with a description explaining what your project helps users or what the users can do with your project. This kind of important information.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think that's a good point about you don't necessarily know what things are gonna look like, 5 years down the line. You don't necessarily know what decision you're gonna look back on and say, that was the turning point in my career. That was a really good thing for my career. That decision I made there, not as great. I think no one really knows when you're in the moment making the
Yeah.
decisions. What I've always done is I look for really good people and I look to kind of be guided by that. And I make the decision based on, the information I have at the time, which is obviously not going to be that, oh, this open source project is going to become super popular. You don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. And I think you kind of have to make decisions based on your own values and hope that gets you to a good place, which I think a lot of the
Yeah,
time it
exactly.
does. So,
All thing that we can do is just to create more many things as we can.
yeah, totally. When we talk about like open source projects in general, I think there's an issue of balancing innovation with stability and reliability and how easy things are to maintain. I think in a lot of open source projects, we all want new shiny features, and the less shiny things like maintainability, like stability, are sometimes not as valued by like the masses. How do you approach balancing the new features, building what people want, and also keeping your community happy while you maximize stability and you make it easy for yourself to maintain that project going forward?
Okay, but actually, this is not a problem in my case because, well, I think most people agree with this idea that, especially in the case of tools like Streamlit or some tools in the Streamlit ecosystem, Streamlit extensions, the users are mainly software developers or software engineers like me, and who I believe acknowledges the benefit of the maintainability or stability or the kind of a daily housekeeping jobs on the software project. So I think it's easier. This is more easier to maintain OSS project compared to, I think, more some business thing or proprietary products that has more I don't know, rigid limitations or some outside bound to outside environmental limitation or something like that. So I think I'm feeling lucky in the field because I'm working in OSS sphere where people are so like people understand
Yeah.
the value of every aspects of software development, of course, including shiny things, but also
Right.
like maintaining or housekeeping tasks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think ideally you are surrounded by people who get that.
Yes,
And
it's
maybe
lucky.
yeah, I mean, maybe for the people who don't understand it immediately, part of the mission is getting them to understand, that is
Mhm.
a big concern in open source, is making sure things are maintainable, and for future people who are working on the project, it's also maintainable for them. So, that makes
Actually,
sense.
thanks. Yeah,
Cool.
actually.
Well, at this point, we're going to take some questions from the audience. We've got a couple of questions here. I think some of them are actually about Stlite. I'm going to go ahead and put some of these on our screen here. So, a question on LinkedIn from Jonathan Conlian. Is this an alternative to ONNX or TensorFlow? Is there a way to offload all the ML inference compute to the client? Doesn't serverless still need something like AWS Lambda? And that's
Oh,
referring to Stlite, I think.
well, yes, I think so. And this is a good question. Um, in short, STLite is not replacing these frameworks because STLite is just a WebAssembly version of Streamlit, and Streamlit is just a UI frameworks. That is not machine learning inference engine or machine learning library. But I also have another OSS project that fulfill your goal. Let me share my screen
Okay,
again.
I love that. Okay, let me.
Okay. You see this? Okay.
Yep, we can see it now.
Well, there's a library called transformers.js.py. I think this name sounds a bit weird, but and this is different from Onyx or TensorFlow.js, but it's namely just a kind of port of Hugging Faces, the Transformers library. Actually, there is a port of Transformers. Originally Transformers library is written in Python, right? And after that, after releasing of Transformers library, there was Transformers.js library that bridges. That's a kind of port of Transformers, Python written Transformer library into JavaScript. Then I reported this Transformers.js into Python world again so that we can use Transformers API on client-side Python frameworks like, of course, Jupyter-Lite, and here is Stlite, and here's Gradio-Lite. This is a WebAssembly port of Gradio that is another Python framework developed by Hugging Face. And here is Shiny Live, and here is PyScript, and here is Panel. So the answer is, again, there is available machine learning libraries that runs on web browser, and it's that is in the different layer from the UI frameworks like Stlite or Gradio-Lite or Jupyter-Lite. So, okay, this is the answer. Yes, there is a option that you can use to run machine learning inference on web browsers in combination with UI frameworks that run on client side too, like Stlite.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that we have something else to share with people too in this area. A sort of follow-up question on that from Omkar, is Stlite sharing a sort of development tool? And yes, that's accurate. You're basically serverlessly sharing your Streamlit apps, which is basically what you've been getting.
Yeah, exactly. Can I share a bit more demo about Stlite sharing now?
I love that. Yeah.
Thanks again. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Well, just I'd like to walk through some other features of Stlite sharing that we haven't seen previously. Like after you developed your own application on this web editor, you can share this application just by clicking this link or copying this URL, and your users or colleagues simply open this URL to restore your edited application without editor pain, so that they can use your application in the dedicated views where user can directly interact with the application. The magic is done by the URL string here. Sorry, the character is small enough, but all data of your entire application is serialized and embedded into this URL, so the application is now shareable. And if you like, you can export this application as a single HTML file from this button. And the downloaded file is, well, just a single HTML file. Let me see this download folder. Here's a single HTML file. And if you open this HTML, the browser also restores the application, Streamlit application run by Stlite, and users also can use your Streamlit application in this way as well. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I missed this sharing.
No, I
this is literally sharing feature of Stlite sharing. This is important.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a critical part, and I think that that's something that people find really useful is being able to just basically copy the URL and then Slack it to your coworker and hey, check this out, and they can go in and they can edit the application and run it themselves, which is just incredibly powerful.
Thanks.
Let's do one last question. Follow-up question on Stlite. 2 questions. Does transformer.js.py download Hugging Face models to the device, or does it interact with Hugging Face hosted inference endpoints? And the second question, I heard Stlite is based on Pyodide. Does it mean it cannot support all Python packages? For example, requests, etc.
Oh, it includes many important information. Well, for the first question, the answer is it downloads the Hugging Face model and executes the model in local, I mean, in the web browser. So it doesn't interact with remote endpoint. And for the second question, yes, Stlite is based on Pyodide, right? And yes, it means some Python packages cannot be used in Pyodide. But specifically about request, it recently started to be supported, just recently, probably 2 weeks ago, maybe, with a new release of Stlite. So particularly request is now working. But as you say, as you wrote, some Python packages are not available on Pyodide, unfortunately, right now.
Well, that's a well-timed question considering requests just got added. But great questions all around. Really appreciate the audience questions here. And Yuichiro, thank you so much for this interview. I think this has really just been very insightful, not only in terms of checking out Streamlit WebRTC, checking out Stlite, checking out now transformers.js.py, but also about open source communities in general and how folks can get started with contributing to open source and also leverage that into a meaningful career. So thank you so much for the audience. Check out, this is where you can check out more about Yuichiro. You can check out his GitHub profile. You can check him out on Twitter. Just copy that link on the screen below. I would also say be sure to check out our next stream. We've got a stream coming up in just about 2 weeks with data scientist Dan Miller from Airbnb, and we're going to be talking about how Airbnb's data science team uses Streamlit at scale and how they deploy Streamlit for their internal teams. So definitely don't miss that. Scan the QR code in your top left corner there to check out the LinkedIn page for that. We'd love to have you all for that next stream as well. And thank you again, Yuichiro. This has been another, thank you. It's been really awesome. And this has been another episode of Streamlit Live. Happy streamlining, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.